And so we are here again for the MOKR Mastermind. And I know everybody's new, but for those that are, I know everybody isn't new that's on today, but for those that are watching the recorded version of this, MOKR stands for Mission Objective Key Result. And we've created documents that are allowing us to look and see the objectives that we're working on with our projects and share those with one another. And then what we do on this mastermind is we mastermind the objectives that we're working on so that we can help one another in our projects. Hopefully that's clear enough. If you have need for more clarity, we do have a Slack channel and we can help you to set up your MOKR if you would like to present on a MOKR Mastermind, and you can get involved in the community that's behind this as well. Thanks everybody for attending today, and excited to have Yani share with us her project and what she's working on. And it's a very early stage, so we get to see that early stage, what we're working on, and helping her through some validation as well. So Yani, what we'll do is we'll have you go till, you don't have to use all the time, but we'll have you go till 5:30 or for 20 minutes or so. And then we will start masterminding together. All right?
Yeah, sounds good.
And let me make sure that you can share your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be able. Okay, here we go.
So before we go to the MOKR document, I'd like to share some context, some background information. I'm going to share this document that I prepared today. So my project is called Mycelium for now. I'm calling it Mycelium. As you know, Mycelium is the fungus network. And I will go deeper into why I call it Mycelium later. And so I'm actually working in the area of the social permaculture. And social permaculture is all about designing social structures that favor beneficial patterns of human behavior. Just as in a garden, we might mulch to discourage weeds and favor beneficial soil bacteria. In social system, we can attempt to create conditions that favor nurturing and empowering relationships. So I'm personally really passionate about creating experiences that enable authentic, empowering relationships in our communities. And using the permaculture ethics, so there are three big areas in the permaculture that we always try to strive for. So the first one is people care, the second one is planet care, and then the third one is fair share and future care. And so I'm using this framework in the way I imagine social interactions and human relationships. And so the way I want to use and apply these ethics is through these different tools and methods. So the first one is around value-based design, which is about understanding people's needs and designing products or services or systems that cater to those needs to fill the gaps. The other one is about donut economy, which is around creating an economic system that takes care of people as well as the planet, and thinking about the future as well. Technology in terms of data and new technology that we can use as our tools. Participatory design, which is all about getting people involved, getting the community involved in the creation of people care and planet care and future care. And then the last one is around ecology. So we do need to know what works for our planet and what doesn't work. And so using that sort of method and tool as well to understand how we apply this. So Mycelium I imagine this to be a network of people working at the intersection of design, people, planet, and future care. And so what it means is that, every time we work together, we will bring expertise and knowledge, and try to apply permaculture principles in our work. And who do I want to work with? I'm imagining that I want to work with people who are maybe business owners who are providing maybe goods without single-use packaging. So trying to help them to, understand how to innovate using alternative packaging that is more sustainable. I also imagine working with city policy makers or program directors. So sort of like people who are trying to build strategies and services around circular economy, or organizations who provide learning around urban farming, such as what a lot of the folks in Seeds of Tao are doing. The other organizations that I'm thinking of working with are people who do a lot of people care as well. So like, people who facilitate conflict resolutions, and they also work and push for social change. The other groups that I want to work with are corporations who are trying to do good business. What types of projects am I looking for? So these are like some of the examples out there that already exist. And this is Bristol Pound in the UK. So Bristol Pound is money that's made by local people for local people. It's run by a nonprofit community interest company in partnership with Bristol Credit Union. So they set up Bristol Pound as a hyper-local currency that people in Bristol can use to exchange goods and services. And it's a movement, it's an idea, it's a hope, a better way of doing money. And the key stakeholders that are involved in this initiative are municipalities and business improvement areas, or BIAs, or business owners, and credit unions. So if I use this as an example, I'm thinking about like how does this look like in the context of where I live in Toronto? Can we create Toronto dollars, for example? And how do we use design and technology and community participation to create something like this? The other types of projects that I'm thinking about is this, idea from, again, the UK. So they are creating self-serve dispensing systems for retailers and grocery stores. So using design, we can think about and explore this question about how we can design the low waste or zero waste shopping experience, from production to delivery to consumptions, and how do we scale this in our neighborhoods and cities. So I might work with grocery stores, for example, or I work with delivery companies and other stakeholders. The other type of projects that I'm looking for could be with a business owner like this person. She started a retail / therapy service called Heart Feelings in Toronto. It's a welcoming community of professional counselors who provide low-cost services and support for people. And they also have a storefront that sells carefully curated books and resources to help build and sustain stronger mental health. So me and my team would be supporting businesses like Heart Feelings to continue to provide low-cost counseling services, especially during the pandemic. Possible key stakeholder will be maybe the Canadian Mental Health Association. And so this idea is not actually new. So I actually drew an inspiration from Snook Design in the UK. So they are a team of designers who are working with government agencies, businesses, business owners as well, and other organizations in the communities to use design and data and technology to care for people and to care for the planet. And the other one that I was inspired by is this organization in Singapore, the Thought Collective. And their purpose is all about building Singapore's social and emotional capital. And they provide a lot of goods and products, and they're actually an umbrella of a few different social enterprises that provide organic foods, for example, in restaurants. They also provide I think an education sort of like training and workshop as well to facilitate hard conversations in the communities, helping people to find ways to talk about emotions, and building people's skills in understanding needs and emotions. So I'm actually drawing inspirations from all of these different organizations. So I'll stop here. And then we can maybe have questions first before we go to the MOKR document.
Perfect. Yeah. So it was really cool to see the clarity that you've gotten just within a week time, really, because talked to you a little bit before, and then the time that you've spent on it. So great work. My question is, so for your, hold on, we have a kid that's coming in, but I'll ask the question real quick. The what is your income or your revenue model, and is it consulting, or is it what do you think that's going to be?
So I'm thinking of a combination of different things, and so using again the principle of permaculture. So like doing, if there will be a combination of like consulting fees as well as maybe barter of services. So like I actually came across this Canada-based company called Barter Pay, and so companies sign up to become members of this community, and they can actually exchange goods, services, mostly services. So like if somebody can design a website for you, you exchange it with an accounting service, for example. So combination of those things. Yes.
So sorry, say what was the first thing? So you'll be bartering for services and for needs of the business and for yourself.
Yes.
But how are you, like, what's the service or the different services that you're going to be offering to barter on different platforms?
Yeah. It depends, right? So for example, if say a zero waste store in Toronto needs help with user research, trying to understand, how people do shopping, zero waste shopping, and what sort of like the barriers that they encounter, and how we can design for that. Say for example, they have a hard time finding the right container, for example, or cleaning the container, or like people feel like it's inconvenient to bring their own containers. So maybe we can set up like a container sort of lending system, for example, right? And so if they say, oh, actually let's design for that, let's try to test that, prototype that. And so I can do the research for them, and then in exchange, maybe that could be a combination of paying me with consulting fees, like for doing the research, or there could be something around like, I don't know, this is just an idea, like profit share. Like I heard about that at some point, like they make an amount of sales, and they can like share a percentage of that to my organization, to the network of people who are helping them solve problems. So that could be that, or with the barter exchange, again, because they're zero, like they sell groceries, right? So like I don't know like what kind of service, or maybe like they can offer goods, I don't know. But again, it is something that it will be for me and my team to sort of like discuss together about like what sort of like exchange of service or goods that are beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you're going at it that way as well. And I would love to see how, because it's very complex, and to see how you go about figuring out the dynamic ways of being able to barter and exchange for like services, and then when you get a team on hand too, what's going to satisfy their needs as well. But I would love to see how I would love for you to explore it, definitely.
Yeah.
And I want to know, like, for the alternative currencies, like, what would you be consulting about? Because there's like two whole different, I feel like they're so different. How do you bring those things together as like one
Yeah.
thing that you're offering?
Yeah. So with the local currency case study, actually, I just got approached by Transition Toronto. This is an organization.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they said they want to try to research and prototype, so to design for keynotes. So this is, and they're at this research stage right now. And then I approached them and I said, hey, like, I know how to do research, I know how to do design. They said, great, let's create a team. And so we're now doing our like desktop research, where we're reading a bunch of different articles, and we're actually learning from Calgary dollars, who have been around since the 90s. They have collected a huge amount of data and learnings. So we want to learn from them about how to apply that for Toronto. So, at this moment, my involvement is all around just like doing research, right? And then so at some like desktop research, like reading. But at some point, we do want to like bring it to the community and sort of like maybe test it with business owners. So we can do research with business owners about like what is like sort of like the value proposition for them to get involved in something like keynotes. We can also reach out to a staff in the city of Toronto to see whether they want to prototype this citywide. And so as a designer, I'll be able to like help them to like create that experience. And maybe, it will be enabled by tech for sure, right? So like maybe people can pay with an app using this keynote currency. And so
That's cool. Just for future research, Nelson in British Columbia, where I used to live, big hippie town, also has an alternative currency or a local currency. I don't know if they're still using it, but you could look that up too. Nelson, BC.
Nelson, BC. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions?
I'm going to leave all my comments to the end because I want the umbrella view of it all.
Okay.
I'm making notes, so I'll wait till the end. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Am I unmuted? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, this is weird. Okay, so I think that's super awesome, and I super love the examples that you're giving. Like,
thank you.
So cool to see that happening. So just before we go into the MOKR, I'm just trying to like have kind of a conceptual big idea of it. So I'll tell you what I understand of it, and then you can tell me if I'm correct or not. Because I feel like it's kind of this organization that you're starting, this team, is kind of a social permaculture accelerator almost.
Yeah, it could be that.
Mm-hmm. I can be wrong. I can totally be wrong. But it's like, so it doesn't really matter what field they're in, if they're trying to move that kind of idea or that, ethic forward, kind of in line with social permaculture or permaculture, right? If it's moving kind of the greater good of that forward, that you help them to do that, to design for that, to move that forward, right? Mm-hmm. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, but they may not start with social permaculture, right? Mm-hmm. So they might just want to do something good in the world. So like with the zero waste example, right? So like the stores just want to reduce waste in the city, and they see an opportunity in that. So I want to help them to scale their impact. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's aligned anyways.
Aligned.
It's not who they're going after, but it's the how they're doing it, right? So it's part of your how. Like we use social permaculture as one of our techniques to help people move forward in their designs. Yeah. And I also so I don't see it as an incubator, more so as like almost a collective of designers in a sense. And I've seen a lot of other companies do this as well, where they come together and it becomes a cooperative. So my consulting agency mixes with this consulting agency, mixes with this consulting agency. We create another entity together where we are fused, and then we start helping people do the work, because we couldn't do it alone, right? Especially if we're all independent contractors in a sense. And that's what we had to do as a branding agency. In the beginning, we had a specific way that we were doing things, but we had a bunch of designers and other agencies that we worked with to satisfy the project. They were in line with the way that we worked, meaning that they understood. In your case, it would be they understand social permaculture, the ethics, and the design philosophy of permaculture, right? So that might be something that you look into.
Okay, should we go to the MOKR then?
I think that would be great. Yeah.
Start sharing again. So this is my MOKR. And so my why statement is to work at the intersection of design and people and planet care and future care to support people doing good work so that they can reach maximum impact. And my Q1 mission is this. I'm committed to maintaining unwavering faith that I will have 3 paying clients by October 1st, 2020, so that I can support people doing people and planet care work. I will put forth extraordinary effort until I do, no matter what. There's no other option. So when I put down 3 paying clients, I'm actually being super optimistic about this because I know that I have to start from scratch, right? I have nothing right now. And so when I scroll down a bit more here with these objectives and lag metrics, I'm thinking about 3 priorities. So 3 things that I will prioritize in just Q1. So the first one is generate a network of allies, right? So to spread the word. And because this is also a cooperative, like this is like it's a collective of people, I need to find people who share the same values, who understand what it means to design using social permaculture principles and ethics, permaculture ethics. That's the first thing. I need to find people who believe in this. The second thing is I want to test and refine my service offers. So I actually don't know whether people that I want to work with see the value in doing research and design and using technology and all of that. So I don't know actually whether these are the tools that they would use to solve their problems. Maybe they think that they need more like marketing, or like they need more of that, sort of like social media engagement. I don't know. And then so I need to test. I need to go out and test this. And then the third one finally is about finding 3 paying clients. But again, number 3 is really dependent on number 2 and number 1. And so these are all like, I don't know, these are goals that I feel good about putting down, like writing down like this, but I also feel a bit anxious. So the lead metrics, our spend in business strategy, I need to write vision and mission statements first. I need to maybe create a website where I put like this mission statements.
Yani, hold on just for a sec. Before we move on to key results and metrics, on the objectives, just maybe something that you want to think about. Well, we want to make sure that these are quantifiable. So even though, generate a network of allies in awareness stage, what does that network look like? And defining what that network is will be really helpful for you. So whether the network, if you were to make it in terms of quantifiable, what are you hoping to get from that network? And maybe it's testimonial or validation from that network, right? That this is a valid business model. So maybe it's 10 people that can give you recorded feedback on your business model, or it's something to that, right? That extent, but something that's quantifiable that helps you say, I've delivered this and it's what I am expecting out of it, right? Because it's really, it's too general just to say generate a network of allies. We want to know what that network of allies is doing for you and how it's moving the business forward or helping you to validate. And then test and refine service offerings can also be more quantifiable and specific as well. But I also see the find three paying clients as like the main thing that you're working towards, which it might even be you only accomplish one of those because the client is so big that you can only take on one, but it provides, but you want to allow for you to understand some different scenarios that would be beneficial for you as well. So just some other thoughts on that too, but I think that's a great start.
Yeah.
I have something. So when you were reading your mission mantra, you totally laughed when you said 3 people.
Yeah.
Like totally discarded any belief that you have in yourself to achieve those 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I wrote the same thing down. Yeah.
So that's where it becomes, well, it's good to notice that though, because that means like, that's where, so even like you're laughing because you're nervous, right? Because it brings up things like, oh, that's like a stretch goal. Like that's the big stretch, right?
Yeah.
But then later with the lag metrics, you're also kind of like, well, 3 people if all the others get done. Like you're totally like shying away from it.
Yeah.
So it's just something to be aware of. But I would definitely, if you find yourself with a goal and there's a part of it that you're like, or you stutter or you stumble over it, that's totally your subconscious like firing, like, I don't know if I can do this. So it's really good in that case, if you have something like that, to make sure that you are like putting this on your wall and saying it and practicing saying it, because it'll feel ridiculous. But after a while, you'll start to believe yourself. And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to get 3 people at least. Like, I'm going to do this, So like, just like be aware of it and lean into it. Don't shy away from it. Like lean into it.
Okay. Yeah.
My thoughts on it was that you choked. No, I felt like it was more like a choke laughter. And it was around the pain keyword. Is it like, and I've noticed even through the presentation, you're talking about like barter cards, separate economy, like different economies. Is there something like, do you associate negatively with like money and pain and that? Is there a blockage there somewhere? Because like, I think if you were to change that to 30 free clients, you would be quite fine. That's just my observation of the way you presented. You come across very confident on every other thing until you got to that pain word. And I just wanted you to think a little bit deeper about that, whether there is some kind of personal blockage. And I know it's a common thing in the permaculture space and in this kind of regenerative space where we want to give and just like maybe reframing your views on that. Like you can't keep helping people unless you look after yourself. And even with, I wrote comments here about barter because I've gone down this path as well. There's a company here in Australia called Barter Card, and it works exactly like what you said before. And when I had my energy efficient lighting company, we did a massive push with this whole barter card side of things, and we actually got really stuck because we had all these barter card credits and no one to really spend them to, and we couldn't pay our bills with it, we couldn't pay our staff with it. So as a rule of thumb, if you do want to play in that space, like set boundaries and say, like, we can only accept 20% of our income monthly to barter economy, or 15. So you're still fulfilling your goal of practicing that method, but there's limits. And when a customer comes in and says, hey, I want to pay by barter, you say, awesome, we're at 10%, we can only take X amount, the rest of it will have to be cash or other forms, because you do need to have overheads, bills, electricity, and all those providers aren't on those platforms. So from experience, we got really trapped. I think we had nearly like $25,000 worth of barter credits and nowhere to spend them. And people were like, oh, well, buy a car or buy this. It's like, but like we got really stuck. So I just wanted to like pop that thought in your mind to set limits.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't pay a lot of services or staff. Like we got to the point where we were like trying to buy like movie vouchers and stuff and paying our staff through vouchers instead of cash, but then they can't pay their bills like that.
Yeah.
You know, so just be mindful of that. But I think just, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you may need to just look into this whole money side of things and see where that roots from. I can see it because I see it in myself. So I'm the same, you know, and what I'm saying to you is probably a lot of advice that I need to hear myself, because I have a lot of blockages in that as well. So just wanted to share that. And if you want to talk deeper about it, let me know. So cool.
I wanted to say something about the 3 customers. Like when you said that, I was imagining 3 like large organizations. So maybe like Transition Toronto is not one person. It's a huge client to me. So I think 3 is good. Like I think it's better not to overwhelm yourself with like, you know, I just feel like at the beginning, and October is not that far away, it's good to develop your ideas without a lot of pressure. Like everybody works differently. That's how I did my first business. It was pretty good, but it all just happened so fast. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't have time to organize the system and I feel like, I just don't want to have that happen again where I feel rushed and pressured. So I feel like that goal, is pretty good. Like it's not 3 people like that are paying like $100 each. Like I feel like if that Transition Toronto thing works, that's like a big project. So
Huge.
yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Is Transition Toronto paying you now? Do they count as one of your paying clients?
No. So it is a small organization, and they are, I think they're run by volunteers at the moment, but we do talk about finding grants to like support the design and the prototype of keynotes. So I do have a team right now where, you know, we are actively looking for grants, right? So it could be one of my paying clients.
I'm just wondering whether I should ask anything now or wait till you finish.
Well, the other thing about, I think, like you guys gave me really great feedback, and like you noticed like the laugh, the nervous laugh, but also the other thing that I heard, this is actually something that a friend of mine told me, the collective, the sort of like that form of like of a team is actually really difficult to pull off. That's what my friend told me, and he has tried it. He doesn't know permaculture. He doesn't use permaculture principles in his work, but he said, you know, as a consultant, he noticed that he sometimes need other people to come in, right? So he wanted to try this collective model, just like Artist Collective, but it didn't work for him. And so he said it's really, really difficult to pull off. And I don't know whether you have experience around this.
I have experience on the agency side of things, and marketing agencies do that quite often, but I don't have it on the design. And I shouldn't say there was a lot of design work as a branding agency, right? But it is really hard to do, but it can be done. And really what it comes down to is you have to have your model down so well that it's very clear and people can follow it. And you have to find people that align with that model, right? So as soon as someone comes in, you understand, they understand your model well, it's well explained, and you're able to get them involved in projects. And your project management has to be really meticulous, right? Because if you're having people that are doing multiple projects on their own, and then they come in and work with your project, you have to have the communication and everything set up beforehand as you add these people into your projects. Really what it comes down to though, in the beginning, you don't start off like that, right? You just do your one, and then you find really what happens is, especially with the branding agency, we worked with one person, we did it ourselves, and then all of a sudden we needed some help on something. We searched around for that person, found him, took him into the project, and it was a really slow process of doing it. Validated it working with that person on this project, and then if we decided to do another project with them, we would. And so you just kind of pick up people as you go, right? But you're really just working as a one person consultancy, or maybe 2 or 3 people, and then you start building more of a network of people that you trust. And once your system is in place, then you can share that with others. So it doesn't happen overnight, definitely. Like you can't just create that business model and say, I'm doing this. It's usually consultancies that have been doing it alone for so long, but they have their systems down so well that when they take on someone else to do a project, they are usually the ones running the show and can manage the project. They're like the main contractor, and everybody else is subcontractors essentially, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting it in front of them. A lot of business models do this in a lot of different industries. Branding agencies, that's how they start essentially, and not a lot of them do well, right? Like ours is still only a very small agency, and I should even say ours. It's not mine anymore.
Nope. Divorced.
But it's a hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of time. But if you're passionate about the projects that you're currently working on, I see it being something where you're really excited and passionate, and you create your own frameworks, and people are excited to work with the projects that you're working on, and so you invite the right people around you essentially, right?
Yeah.
I would say though that there is a benefit in terms of that and trying to like find people to be in line with you, the permaculture umbrella, because permies tend to speak fairly the same language, have similar priorities along that line. So if you get, because permie designers specifically wanting to do that, like they're not going to be super easy to find, but when you find them, they're going to be more aligned because you're both subscribing to the same model. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh yeah, my value is this random thing and I want everyone to have the same value. But permaculture is a global thing, right? Like people hear about it, people go get their PDCs. So it is definitely something. I'm just saying that might be helpful when you can find those people. If they are permies tend to speak a lot the same language anyways.
Okay.
One thing I'll say with it, a lot of it is very general, and it's not particularly clear what your services or what's any differentiation. Like your main objective is basically design with permaculture principles, which basically just sounds like permaculture. If I was just reading that, I'd just assume that you'd be a garden designer. So a lot of your things, like when you've got your vision statement, define what your services are. I think it'll be a lot clearer once that all exists, because right now, most of the things you're just saying, I'd like to connect these groups or these sorts of businesses. Basically, I'd go to the local transition towns area, or local transition towns group, which I understand is what you're trying to be consulting to support, but still, I don't know why I would ever particularly go to Mycelium.
And it's
one other thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
Where Ray was saying about be careful with the value of barter trade. Barter also can be very useful. Like I've often done consulting where I'm saying, all right, I can have $100, and they say, oh, or I can give you $500 worth of meat, and $500 of meat. That's good. I'll take that. So sometimes barter definitely is worth it, but it just depends on what you've got to do.
I agree.
Electricity bills with meat, but I can eat it.
And I agree when there's like, I need something, you need something, it's instant gratification. The trap with these barter systems is that you earn credits on their platform for a one day maybe, and that one day maybe never sometimes comes. So I've often put ads on Gumtree and stuff where it's like, I need a skip bin, I need a plumber, I need this, and I can trade you a website. And I've gotten a lot of things like that. So it's like, I need a skip bin, you need a website, let's do a deal. It's instant gratification. It's those credit ones that can become a bit of a trap. So
I've never used them, and I wouldn't trust them.
That's exactly right. It's almost like there's a little bit of a grey line of taxes.
I've certainly done a lot of bartering.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yanni, really quickly, and I agree with both what Andrew and Ray are saying. I've used barter in almost every startup at the beginning, especially with those that align. And I honestly open up free opportunities as well. Like a certain amount of my stuff is free. In the beginning, I test that way. I open up alpha, beta testing. Sometimes they're paid betas, sometimes they're alpha. If it's a new product, usually it's free, and I'm just trying to get feedback on things. But also some of the other barters that I've done like a sales barter where someone has helped me on sales coaching. I've done definitely a lot of coaching material as well as bartering. I'm looking for this, and this person has this, and so I will honestly in the beginning open up that trade, and then I close it off to a certain percentage as I move into things. A certain percentage of what I give out for free, what I do for trade, and what needs to be paid on those things, and that's really helped in a lot of ways especially a startup who needs, that's like your main thing is to keep cash flow going, right?
Yeah.
And I know you know that because you've done your startups, but Marcus Sheffer is a person that we've had on the podcast, and I put him in the notes. He actually has done a successful, or is in a successful cooperative that they've all gotten together. I'm not sure who the main person is that's operating that cooperative, because there usually is one person that's there, and he's in the sustainable design for the built environment. So he's been more in built environment areas, right? So a little bit different, but he could share some insight because he is very much a permaculturist and has that type of background too. So you could talk to him on that. I can introduce you to him as well.
Yeah. Thank you. To answer Andrew's questions about what I'm offering. So I came across this website. It's called UX Ventures, and they do just UX design, which is about building mobile apps and websites, to create this user experience, right? So I chose this because this is something that is sort of similar to what I'm trying to do, but I don't want to actually put my work into just this one box of creating digital products, because I'm thinking about actually creating sort of like a system or strategies. It could also be research, right? It could be any, the products could be anything, but so I saw this and I was like, I think it was very clear what they are offering. And I think if I look at this, but this is also my language, this is also my field, right? So I understand what they're trying to do. Say, for example, they offer strategic workshops, and they said that they will help you to align your teams on objectives for your product, business, and customer experiences. So again, the product that they mentioned is actually apps and websites, all these digital products. They do UX audit, which is actually looking at existing software or whatever digital products that companies are using to advise them, give them feedback on how good it is. They do design sprints. So this will be like a 1 week intensive time to help companies solve a problem. Again, usually this is like a digital problem that they have. They do research and testing. So they will do user surveys and questionnaires to understand how people use digital products for companies. They do web design, obviously. They do branding. They do videography and photography, logo design. They do training and culture. So when I look at it, first of all, I think it's too many. I think it's I wouldn't actually put this, but yes, I do think that maybe I should have some version of this to make it more clear about what I'm actually offering.
Well, one of the things, sort of like what Emily was saying, that there's permaculture context. If someone says, I'm doing permaculture design, my thought is, you're going to help me design a garden or design a landscape. If the rest of my world of software engineer, if someone says, I'm doing design, that's going to be completely different to what I'm going to hear if in a permaculture thing. So maybe you just need to add a bit more clarity within it, which, yeah, it sounds like you're getting there, but just remember that other people don't necessarily know the context you're thinking in.
Yeah.
I think adding the something that might be clarifying, like, and because you're merging two worlds together, right? And the UX side, I think people can understand a little bit. Like if you say user experience, like we're helping to design the experience. That might be a clarifying keyword, but all of this is really messaging and hopefully helping you to understand what is resonating and what's not resonating with people as we're talking here.
Yeah. Okay.
Off the top of my head, if I was to try and define what you're saying, I'd probably say it's business analysis and research, but I don't know if if that fits what you mean. Just trying to make it as in a one sentence description, which is often what you need to do to get people's attention.
Mm-hmm. It could be that, yeah. It could also be, like in my world, we will say it's strategic foresight as well. These are the two words that people use to like describe something around like, we'll do research for you so that you can plan for the next 5 years. So they call it strategic foresight, right? Creating like something for the future.
Well, I guess sort of one of the main things that I tend to think about with these sorts of businesses, think of what your client is and what their mode is and how they're going to be thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so we're back here to the lead metrics. And so I think that I need to spend time first in the business strategy. So that means writing my vision and mission statements and maybe go through some sort of iterations to like make sure that these statements are very clear for my target group. And second one is identifying the target market and their needs and pain points. And from the previous slides that I show you, I feel like I'm targeting too many people or too many stakeholders, too many groups. And maybe that's not the best way to start this. Maybe I should just start small, maybe just target one group. And then try to understand their needs and then try to understand the language that they use. And then I will also map out different channels to find the right leads. And so this is around like building that network of people who believe in the same thing, right? So it could be also like when I said network of people, they could be potential clients. They could also be potential collaborators. So like people who can maybe join the co-op. Do I have to make this specific, Josh? Like, do I have to say like map out 10 channels or,
So my suggestion for these bullets here, list as many as you feel are helpful to helping clarify what some of the work is that you're doing in here. But the actual, and let me, because I have it pulled up on this side as well, so I can highlight some of this. But the hours, this is the actual key metric that you're looking at, and that's what you're tracking, right? So this is the key metric that you should have some type of dashboard or something that you're able to see that that's moving the needle forward on these things, on these objectives, right? That are above. And I'm not sure if you guys are seeing that. Scroll up just a little bit, Yani.
Yeah.
Yeah, every metric that you have, whether it's hours of business strategy, it should be moving your objective forward so that you can see the needle kind of move forward as the percentage of time gets put into that.
Yeah.
Right. And so these right here are just tasks or things that are helping you to identify what are some of the things that we're doing when I'm working on this metric here. Right. So if it's hours spent, you had number of contacts touched, and these are your own, like these aren't, if you're doing your own MOKR, right? Make sure that you fill these in for yourself and don't use the examples key metrics or key results.
Yeah. Okay. The other bucket of work that I think I should do is this. So building sales and marketing material and optimization. So that means building a website, start communicating, create some sort of marketing strategy and campaign. I'm not too sure about campaign. My understanding is that if I have built some sort of like an email list, then I can start a campaign that makes sense. But since I'm about to start this, so then, you know, I don't have any email list at this moment. So maybe it doesn't make sense to have a campaign. And
you
then
can have a
third one.
campaign to build your list would be
Okay.
a good one. And I honestly think exploring some of the business model first and talking to potential clients is the best way to build lists.
Yeah.
So one thing that you might look into is the Ask Method by Ryan Levesque. There's a quick read book. If you have the resources to put to it, there's a little online course that he put together that's really good. And I've gone through that several times and used it in my business. But even the book will give you a good general idea of like building a survey system that gets the information that you need, helps you build out messaging, as well as starts to build a list as well for you, potential clients. And maybe, you know, almost every single business that I've done with that method and have helped work with other businesses, because we actually used it in our agency as well. So we would use Ask Method to gain market research data, and we would get clients for our clients doing that, as well as I've gotten clients for myself doing market research data. The way that Ryan Levesque sets it up really does help you to get those first clients with it as well.
And what do you think about this sort of like this co-op that I'm trying to build in terms of like the nature of it? The nature of the co-op is more aligned to like a consulting sort of company rather than, you know, a customer facing service. Does it make sense? It's more B2B rather than B2C. And I haven't actually seen any design company who does this, like campaigning, like building a list.
I've seen lots of B2B companies build lists.
Okay.
We, as a B2B branding agency, built lists, and but you got to know who your avatar is for those lists. Like they're not companies, they're still people, right? Yeah. And so what are the people, what are the stakeholders, what are the different types of people that you're going to be talking to? For what you're doing right now, as a minimum viable product, I would say you're looking for your first project as a sole proprietor, as a one man or one woman show, right?
Yeah.
And then you test and validate. But really, you got to pay the bills first, and you need that minimum viable project that's in line with what you're looking for. And I think that's my one of the first steps that I'd be looking at as well. Looking at the larger view of what you hope to accomplish with it. But I would say that first client or two or three is going to help you see where you can go with this business model.
Yeah, I agree.
My like what I try and do is get market research through an event that you're already doing. So talking from experience, we ran a webinar yesterday. And so I tried to maximize that opportunity of eyeballs to ask market research. So in my mind, I've had a few questions about like whether people feel alone and confused. And so one of the poll questions that we asked was that. And there was a few other questions that I asked through that webinar. So it was like, it's an activity that we're doing anyway. And I just took an extra 10 minutes to say, hey, does everyone want to ask a few questions, answer a few polls? I thought it would be a bit fun. And we had, like 70 or so people interact with these polls, and it gave us a really good kind of pulse of what people have been thinking and closed a few loops in my mind. So if you're running an event or a workshop, I know when we've spoken in the past, you're really fond of like meetups and things like that. Like, don't be afraid to ask for like show of hand questions and things like that. So just, use opportunities of things that you're doing anyway to create those feedback loops. The only other thing I'll mention on this section as well is just be careful spending way too much time doing your sales and marketing before you really know who your ideal client is. Because you can, again, talking from experience, I've built businesses where all the marketing collateral is ready and then no one to send or give it to. So just, chip away at it slowly, or be very, 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 very lean, like a very minimum viable product where it might just be a bit of a credibility sales page. I've seen businesses do really well these days just with Facebook pages and groups. So the expectations of needing that online presence, especially at the start, are less. And if you're going to spend 20 hours doing this, I would say just randomly ring people and cold call, and that would probably be a better use of your 20 hours. And that'll give you a good insight of who your client market is and what problems they are struggling with, because that'll then become your marketing message. Or if you speak to 10 people and they say, I have a problem with X, will you then go and design a lead magnet or a document that helps with X? And then that becomes your opt-in, and say, if you're experiencing X, like many of my other clients, then you're going to love this document that I put together. And so then your opt-ins will be a lot better converting, and you'll grow your list faster. So I would probably run your workshops before even building your website and have your community build the website with you. And that's a really I launched a podcast once, and the logo and the name and everything I kind of open sourced and said, here's 3 logos, which one do you like? And even before we launched the podcast, we had a lot of people interested and joined in on that journey, and they felt like, well, they did kind of build the podcast together. So outsourcing that is also good to get your target audience actually giving you feedback on that. So just be careful with the marketing collateral on the website.
Yeah,
I would second that. Good observation, Ray. And it does go quick sometimes too, right? Like you could get that information and have those conversations and be like, when they're asking for, and here's a double-edged sword as well. When they're asking for specifics, you build them just in time, right? And it's kind of weird to say, but you do market research, you open it up as like, it's like when you were a student and you were doing some research paper and you said, I'm doing this as a student, right? And you're asking for different things. They always gave you a ton of stuff. Well, when you're a startup, play with that as well, because, I'm working on this concept. I would love to know your thoughts. And you ask them these questions. If you were to wave a magical, I love this question. If you were to wave a magical wand, and have the solution, the service that you want, what would that look like, right? And you ask these people these questions. What's the greatest challenge when it comes to X, right? When it comes to the transformation that you want them to have, right? And they answer these questions to you, and it's all very open, and you can then come back to them and say, because a lot of times they'll say, well, I'm curious, what are you thinking about? Like, if you were to do this, can you do this for me? And then you put the details together in the time that you need it, right? Okay, well, let me think about it. What are your needs right now? And you kind of put together the project for them, and you're putting together your product at the same time. And I would say that's very like boots on the ground, lean startup style for sure.
Okay.
So Yani, is it more UX and graphic design that you want to help your clients with, or is it full like user experience within their business model to be a little bit more caring for the planet?
I think it's a
So I want to say, like, if I've got some, like, I guess to answer this, like, I've got budget, I want to employ you. What problem do you solve for me today?
So I think if I borrow Andrew's terms, right? So like business analysis and research, I offer that.
Yep.
And so, you know, say you want to know how you can attract more people to Farming Secrets. And you want to know what kind of content they want to see more on the platform. So I can go out and I can do interviews with them, or I can design the surveys, I can send it out to your target group, and I can ask them a bunch of questions that will answer those questions that you have to attract people.
And how much will I need to invest with you in order to get results?
Like we're talking about fees here? I don't know.
Pick something.
For that, if we are talking about reaching out to 100 people, I would say maybe $2,000.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And what results would I get if I invested that $2,000? Like, why would I give you $2,000 instead of like doing marketing on Facebook?
You will get a report of the user research, and that includes the analysis, that includes the top insights, and then some sort of like design recommendations, such as like, you know, not just on a content sort of part, like content strategy, but also maybe how you could design the product better in terms of usabilities and in terms of user experience of Farming Secrets.
Cool. Awesome. It's good. It's good. For my personal, I think you did really well, and I really admire that you're going first with this, and I feel like you're really in the hot seat. Like, I don't even think I haven't even put a slot in yet, because I'm like, just want to see how this works. So I really appreciate that you're going first and creating this kind of, you know, comfortability for me and others in the future. So kudos to you. And I don't mean to like drill you or whatever, but I think like from a business owner, the message, what you just said then, needs to be the other way around. It's like, I want to hear what you're going to deliver for me first, then what my investment cost is going to be, and then how you do it. Because the results is what matters to me as a business owner. Like, that's what success looks like. I sit here and I like, so when you say 100 people, is that like you're going to physically talk to them on the phone?
It could be that phone, but also I'm going to use different methods and tools, right? So like I would reach out to them through social media, as well as like a bunch of user research tools. And so such as like, you know, in the UK, there's this Watch Me Think sort of like tool where people actually sign up to become research participants. So I'll use that. And out of maybe 100 people that I talk to, maybe I will pick some of the extreme users. So like people who are not the average sort of users, to understand pain points and needs. So that will be maybe about 20% of them, or maybe 15% of them. And then I'll go deeper with them. So that means interviews. It could be phone interviews or Zoom interviews. And then I will do the analysis where I look at all the data that I have received from them and create this analysis for you.
Awesome. So just a bit of math for yourself. If you spend 30 minutes on each one of those phone calls and you're doing 100, I just quickly did some maths. I might have done it wrong, but just on the phone call research side of things, you're at about $40 an hour. To me, that's super cheap for market research. So like, just be mindful that, do you now have time? So now basically just like being on the phone and on Zoom, and 30 minutes is kind of generous. I know with Zoom, you can end up speaking for an hour. Then you've got to also factor in building the reports and the deliverables and things like that. So just be mindful of the pricing that, just know what other people are charging as well.
Yeah.
There was something else I thought of.
And make sure you're tracking what you're taking and time you're taking on different things. You're not going to know how much time you're going to need on some of these projects in the beginning, but once you get through a couple of them, if you know that information, you can calculate cost and whatnot. And I wouldn't in the beginning put up any costs on any site or anything like that.
Of course not. No.
As you're kind of working out your model for everything. In fact, if you do, and I've done this I put it up so high that I know, or the value that I want from it at the very end of the day is like, I put up, if I'm putting all of these things in, I'm going to list a price. It's going to be really, really high. And then I can drop it later on. Right. Just as a gateway, right? If someone bites at that, then I know if they bite at it too easy, then I know I set it too low, right?
Yeah.
If no one bites at it, it's probably at a price that no one's willing to pay because, or they don't understand it yet, right? Yeah. And so those are some other ways that you can test. Ray, did you have something else? I feel like you did.
No, I was just going to say also, like, don't be afraid to put your prices higher. Like in this conversation, like you could have, made it say $5,000 and say, but what I'm really looking to do is build a testimonial with you because I really like your business. So you can build collateral or exchange for things and do a bit of a price. Like so like feel free to I've gone through an exercise recently where I've been looking for copywriters and I have dismissed very cheap quotes because I just feel like they are not going to deliver the quality. So as crazy as it sounds, like if someone came in and said, I can do this job for $200, I actually picked the person who could do it for $600 because I just had a bit of a disconnect of like, why is it only $200? Are you going to be outsourcing this to a writer overseas and then be giving me like subpar service, which I'm then gonna have to spend time reviewing and doing. So the mindset is that the right client will pay you what you're worth. And this has happened to me over the years as well. The more I put the prices up, the quicker people say yes, because people who are looking for a $10,000 proposal have got the budget to spend. The people who are looking for a $2,000 proposal, they've probably been counting their money and they're a bit more resistant to part ways with it. So it's a bit of a mindset thing as well. But I agree also, don't put any prices out publicly until you really explore the project. Because I could then turn around and say, well, actually, we've got a database of 6,000 people and we've got 200 members and we want you to speak to all those 200 members, and then that might not be a one-for-one. Like I can't just say, well, if you're going to charge me this for 100, now I expect you to do double that for 200, but you might say, well, there's a lot more work in that. There's a lot more admin. So sometimes the sliding scale isn't linear. So really understand the resources of what people want first and then give a price and add a buffer,
I also want to chime in and just, I don't remember the exact words Ray used, but it was super important about talking about like what you're going to do for them first. Focusing on the actual like transformation for them is way more selling than a list of your personal task list.
Yeah.
Right. People will buy with their logical brain, but it's way more powerful if you can access their emotional brain, and what they want is a transformation because they have a pain. Yeah. So if you can, obviously through your research, you're going to be figuring out that pain, right? And counteracting that with your, kind of UVP, right? Your unique value proposition to really hit at that. Just make sure that it's go to the transformation first, because they want the transformation. They honestly, most people don't even care how you get it, because all they want is the transformation. They really don't care. They don't care what method you're using. They don't care how many hours. They want the transformation, and they'll pay for the transformation, not anything else.
Yeah. So the transformation first, and then the cost, and then what's the last one, Ray?
If they keep going, then how you do it.
How
would come, but they may not even care.
And that's the key word, if they
want
Most
Yeah.
people don't. Like, no one knows how their car works, but they go to a car dealership and they buy a car because
Okay.
the
Yeah.
solution they want, the desired outcome is, I want to be able to travel A to B
Yeah.
with a vehicle that's easier than walking.
And here's the
And so
ticker.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Getting the transformation that they want in their words, right? So if I say you come up with the transformation first, right? What you want them to receive, because it's going to probably be pretty close, and you're going to find like-minded people, right? Your first buyers are going to be mavens that enjoy and understand you and what you're creating, right? And so, you know, the people here, because we're permaculturists, will be more apt to look into your stuff because of our attribution to it. But you still want to get it in our words, right? So when you ask someone, you determine what that transformation is, but you ask them some question like, what is your greatest challenge when trying to accomplish X, this transformation, right? What you want them to actually see, what you want to offer as a transformation, what you want to offer and what you can offer, right? And if you do what you want to offer and it's the big pie in the sky and it's like, after I have a bunch of consultancies, great, but I would almost look and see what the minimum viable product is and the transformation that you could offer with the minimum viable product, which the transformation right now is your consultancy. It sounds like you can do a lot of good research and what are and some of the UX design and looking and diving into people's understanding and process and that type of research. Great, people need that. But what's the transformation that they're looking for?
Yeah.
What's the transformation that you want them to have? And then ask them what that is, essentially, by asking them a challenge question, right? What's your single greatest challenge? Because they obviously are looking for this solution, right? When it comes to this, and if they don't resonate with it, then you either have to find someone else that does want that transformation, or it's just not the right person, right? And so you move on and you find or it's not the right transformation that is needed. And I honestly think you're going to find the right people if you search long enough. There's going to be a niche person, and maybe it's not enough of a niche. I mean, maybe there's not enough of a market to actually make it work, but you're going to determine that as you start calling people and getting in front of people and sending out messages, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents on that. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not just like, we like Farming Secrets would like absolutely love your services right now. Like, I was asking those questions because I truly feel like one of the biggest problems we have at the moment is understanding our customer journey. So we throw people to a lead, or we throw money to stuff, and we have no understanding. Like, as a business owner, and most business owners, we're very, well, no, I should say generalist, but we can tend to be either like visionary or like, I hate doing research. It's like one of the things I hate doing. Like, even like everything, I just hate researching. Like, if someone says buy this tool, I'm like, cool. If you're telling me to buy the tool, I trust you, I like you, and I know you, and I'll buy the tool. So doing that research, having like your head in the data, and collating like meaningful data from that. If someone could come into Farming Secrets and say, this is what a successful customer journey should look like, then like I will go and implement that. But for me to go and research that and spend time asking customers questions, like, that's why I do it in a webinar, because it's like one to many. It's like, that's the path of least resistance that I can do to make it easy. It's like, I've got this thought, let me ask in a group. Okay, that kind of closes the loop at the top level. But I would love someone to go deeper and talk to our clients and say, what appealed to you? What do you want more of? What do you hate? What do you want to see less of? And put a data together and say, this is what your customer journey should look like. Like, I'd pay 10 grand for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So like that is genuinely a problem that most customers, most business owners have, is that they don't understand that customer journey and what that success looks like. And so our landing pages could have the wrong messaging. You know, farmers these days don't really care about like younger generations and like especially our business that's been around for 13 years, the core values have changed. Like people who want to do regenerative farming, they don't really care about the profits. They want the legacy. They want the impact. You know, it's a different audience. So like one of the problems we have is that Farming Secrets, Helen and Hugo, they are old school. They want to put sales pages where it's like yellow highlight, arrows pointing, like, you know, freaking like grow your farm to this empire. And most farmers go, shit, I can't even afford to buy seeds, let alone worry about this. You know, they can't visualize this success. Most farmers want to just know that they can succession to someone and say, someone's interested in actually buying my farm, you know? And so understanding those things, and I think the word I like to say is like, what does success look like? You know, as a personal trainer, for me, losing weight, that's the transformation. And success looks like my kilos on the scale, or fitting in a shirt that I haven't fitted into for 10 years. And it's that journey that we all kind of miss. And so like, I really feel like I've seen your artwork as well. I love the fact that, I love like the package you're putting together. And I feel like there will be a lot of businesses who could benefit from this, or not, will benefit from this. And I'm not just like, I'm genuinely saying like, we struggle with that. This week we're meant to have a meeting to analyze the customer journey, and I just can't be bothered having that meeting because it's not my strong suit. I don't want to sit there and look at emails and what's the open rate and what's the subject line and what was the click-through rate on this call to action and that call to action. I just don't have time to do that. And I think if you love that stuff, God, people would pay you good money to crunch those numbers, because we have, you know, Infusionsoft full of data, but no one to look at it.
That's saying something too. He's using Infusionsoft. That's a lot of data that he's probably collecting and not using, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep.
But
and,
so
and
using,
he said some keywords there. So on this recording, I would go back and I would take some of that recording, and those are his words. He's describing the transformation that he wants in that type of environment, right?
Yeah. So using what you just told me, that means I shouldn't lead on the how, right? So, which is the tools and methods like design and what, you know, and then sort of like permaculture, using social permaculture as my tool. I should start with the pain points of, you know, like what people are trying to do. Right? Because right now I'm actually starting with my values. Like, I want to do this because I care. But like,
so the terminology will be like, are you a business owner that is collecting data in your CRM but never have the time to look at it? I can help. Do you have, and like, if you can pick a CRM system or a couple and say like, I'm really good at Active Campaign, or, you know, like niching down, and this will happen later, but because, you know, these CRMs are beasts, but it's like, don't even worry about that stuff now. It's just like, if you've got data, like even Google Analytics has data. Most people have Google Analytics installed, but never look at it. Guilty, you know? So it's like, do you have Google Analytics installed and never look at it? And like, Josh and I are marketers, we know this shit, yet we still don't look at it, you know? So like, like, it's like a plumber has leaking taps, a marketer has broken marketing, you know? So if you're a business owner and you know that there's leakage, there is more opportunity, there's money on the table, I can help you find those. And that's like, no one cares. Like when you take your car to a mechanic, they don't really tell you what tool they use to take this plate off and change this belt. They just say, I fixed the problem.
Do you want customer satisfaction to increase? Do you want, you know, some of these things that people are looking for? And sometimes that's what it is. Some people are looking for, you know, money, and that's not as strong, but not as strong as especially with the people that I think you're going to find within your demographic. They're going to want the purpose there, right? They're going to want to see, you know, this is and especially if you're working in these big projects, like they're looking for some type of transformation in this currency, right? They want people to use this currency. They want people to enjoy using this currency. Put yourself into their shoes, right? They're the hero, and you're gonna say what is the challenge that this hero has, right? And you're going to take them along this hero's journey, but you are the guide for them. You're Obi-Wan and they're Luke Skywalker. They're not quite the Jedi that they need to be, and you're going to help them to become that Jedi. What is it that they need to learn from you, and what it is that you can provide to them that is going to help them be the hero at the end of the day? They're the hero, right? And if you can look at it that way, as you're doing this market research, I think it's going to be really helpful to you. I'm sorry, Ray and I are just like going back and forth. Does anybody else have something else to say? We got a few more minutes here.
I just wanted to second Josh's recommendation about the ask method. Most of what spewed out of his mouth was based on ask method. The what is your single biggest struggle, da 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 da, all of that, plus any data gathering or surveys that you're using will be enhanced by learning ask method. I know that we've brought it up before here, but it's really great. It's really great, and you'll find so many ways to use it.
Yeah, are you saying ask or ask?
Ask.
Okay. I was like, did they make an acronym like that?
Sorry. I'm from California, and in California, we run all our words together really fast.
No, I'm intrigued, but I'd like to know about it too. Can you put the link, or did you guys already give it before?
Josh, do you want to drop that? But one thing that I really loved learning by going through it, because I went through the course as well, which is super fantastic. But really like mining the actual words and phrases, so you're using the very specific phrase that like most people are using, because you could be off an adjective, just like barely, like you're using a different synonym and your SEO is like crap because of that, right? Like you're just not quite hitting them. So it's super helpful for you and your research and the research you're going to do for everyone else also. Not that you don't know what you're doing, because you totally have it. You're totally ready to go. It's just another thing.
So there's the book I just posted. The book's really good. It's really quick read, but it's detailed. And he really just gives the method to you but his course, if you go to the website, you can probably find his course on there. I don't know how he's running his marketing right now, or if that's even what he's pitching right now. He actually has another book that he just dropped. I haven't read through it yet. So his course is like the step-by-step. If you're really just wanting to like do the step-by-step and follow how he does it, and then tweak it to what, after you know that it works, right? Tweak it to what it works for you. The ask, you can gain everything that you need in the book though, if you wanted to do it yourself, but it will significantly help you to do it really quickly if you take the course. And I'm a big course fan, so I usually just take the course.
Okay, we ran out of time. It's 8:30.
How do you feel, Yani?
I feel good. Really energized. Thank you so much. This is really inspiring. This is really helpful. Thank you.
And so next week we don't have anybody. Who is going to step up and be that person?
Ray
rolls
MP.
his eyes.
There you go. MP.
I know. I've been thinking about how to. Ray, do you have anything ready, or do you not yet?
No, nothing. Apart from like picking out farming secrets and kind of going deeper on that. But yeah, I don't know. There's some resistance there, and I don't know why. Because I get torn between like understanding more the business world and then myself. You know, it's just like sometimes I want to do these things as like my own project. You know, like working in the community to start a community garden, and like whether I want to use this space to help me do that rather than business world. You know, so I'm torn between a personal project and a business project, and that's what my current thought is.
I would like to see that.
What about Andrew?
Put it forward.
Andrew, are you signed up?
No, I haven't done mine yet. I've had some busy personal stuff. I'm probably in a position that I probably could do my plan quite quickly, but I haven't written it up yet, so I'm not really able to say, yep, next week I'm ready.
I will throw out though, Ray, you can sign up more than once. Like you could say, let's do the community garden, and then
Scratch that, do the other thing.
yeah, you don't have to commit to it. I mean,
Okay.
well, you do for this part, but you could do
Yeah.
both. I mean, why not?
Okay. All right. I can't say yes now, but I will think about it quite deeply in the next 24 hours.
So the backup is to dive deeper into either people that have gone already. So it would be Seeds DAO or Yani. And so that's what we would be doing if you guys don't. But I don't want that to be the scapegoat here. I'm not pressuring anybody by any means, but if you do feel ready, if you do feel that tingle inside of you, and I almost saw it in MP's face, like almost like, I know I need to do this, but I'm not going to, or I don't want to.
No, I do. I just like this past weeks because of the new community garden stuff, I'm just like so packed. And I'm even questioning if I have time to even do the garden projects anymore that we're planning with Hannah. And I'm like, it's just overwhelming. Like I need to drop something, I think. But like, so that's what I'm wondering. Should I, but then we could plan this for, even if it's for next year, like it doesn't have to be, it's still a good exercise. So I'm just trying to find the time to just think about it, you know.
I would say, man, you do have a lot going on, MP. So I would say the project that you're working on right now that's taking up most of your brain power would be the best project to do it in your case, right? And I think that's why Ray's kind of cut and divided as well. It's like, I have maybe a couple things that are taking up brain power. I'm not speaking for Ray, but for you.
No, you're right. And I second that as well. Like use this platform to close some of those loops and remove like decision fatigue. You know, if we can close some loops and go, should I do A and B? And we go, oh no, you have to do B. Then that's like decision done. Next project, you know. Decision fatigue is a huge thing in business owners' brains.
That's true. I actually never thought of it to do it for my community garden because I have two. And I'm just like, oh my God. And now we're looking at like a $200,000 grant. It's like when there's money involved. Before it was like, oh, there's no pressure. We're just like, now it's like, I'm just like, whoa. So I have to like start not like mess up, which I won't, but I have to. So, but you're right, because we're doing two different community gardens. One's a food forest that's already kind of planned out, sort of. The other one might be like an indigenous led gardening space where our indigenous nations here in Vancouver, which we have over 60,000 people from different nations, would be the gardeners, the community gardeners, because for reconciliation, and I'm really stuck on, I've talked to my First Nations friends, how is this possible? Is this viable? Because I'm not First Nations. Anyway, but I have lots of questions. So that could be a really good one. And it would actually help move that project forward. So yeah, maybe I should just do that one.
Are you signing up then, MP?
I'll decide.
Okay. Well, if we don't have anybody by the day before, I'll say you guys know what's going to happen. But please show up still, right? Yeah. Or invite people to come in too, because I'm just doing word of mouth with this right now. Because I honestly, this is a side project for me. It's a side project that I want to make more full time, but right now I only have so much time to put to it, right? So that's what it is. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying this for sure.
Me too.
All right. Bye for now, everybody, and see you next week.
Awesome.
Thank
Well
you.
done, Yani. Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
Thanks
Yeah,
so much.
amazing idea, Yani.
Thank
Can't
you.
wait to see it.
Good job.
Bye.